Guess what? I slept with the groom.
With an energy that suggested she might follow up with a yay, Sue blurted this out. The room is in total chaos. I can see my parents at a nearby table looking like they're about to faint. But contrary to the situation around me, my mind began to regain its composure. Hunter slept with Sue? No, that can't be. Because, well, I am Savannah, a completely average 28-year-old, graduated from an average university, working a regular job at a big corporation. I'm not a failure by any means, but I've always been, for better or worse, just average. Average in studies, in sports, in socializing with friends. I'm not particularly remarkable, nor do I have any standout features. That hasn't changed as I became an adult. I've tried hard, but I'm just average at work and at household chores. Come to think of it, my upbringing was pretty average too. Parents who are company employees, living a standard lifestyle. Even for university, I attended on a scholarship, and until recently, I was paying back a fixed amount every month. I'm not complaining, and I'm genuinely thankful to my parents for raising me this far. But the fact remains that my life has been nothing but average so far. On the other hand, my best friend Sue has led a life that's complete opposite of mine. Sue and I started at a company at the same time. We were placed in the same department, and since we were the only two women there, we became friends. Our friendship blossomed into something special, mostly thanks to Sue's incredible personality. She's outgoing and bubbly, unlike me, who's more reserved. Despite her beauty, her Ivy League degree, and her wealthy upbringing, she's never pretentious. Sure, she's confident and always surrounded by good-looking, successful guys, but that's because she's competent and incredibly charming. She's also incredibly observant and proactive, qualities I wish I had. It's different from me. Yet, every time I think about how different Sue and I are, it bugs me. I sigh heavily and press the enter key with more force than necessary. 5 years into the job, I'm used to the work, even if I'm not the most efficient. So while lost in thought, my fingers kept typing away. Suddenly, a soft thud hits the back of my head.
What's the sigh for, Savannah? Frustrated much?
Not painful, but I hold the back of my head and turn around in my chair. Sue's standing there, a rolled-up document in hand.
Sue.
Come on, you're not making much progress, are you? Lunch is in 30 minutes.
Sue peeks at my desk and comments, sounding exasperated. I've heard that before, but today it stings a bit.
What? Is it that time already? I better hurry. I check the time and refocus on my work.
I have to finish by 3 p.m.
So, where are we going for lunch?
Sorry, I don't have time for lunch.
What? That's your fault for being slow. Let's go. Let's go to that Italian place on Maple Street.
But I don't have time. When I turn around, Sue's already gone.
She bounces off, probably heading to the restroom. I can see her petite figure leaving the floor. Her beautifully curled chestnut hair sways against her slender back. A few male colleagues stop their work and stare.
She's so pushy. That's the privileged girl in her.
I can't help but grumble. Not listening to people is one of Sue's flaws, but I know she means well. Maybe she's trying to take me out for a break because she noticed I'm not being productive. Regaining my composure, I concentrate on my work for the next 30 minutes until lunch. The Italian restaurant Sue loves is a 5-minute walk from the office. It's a stylish place, delicious, and not the kind where an office worker would casually have lunch. At $30 for lunch, it's a place I'd never go to alone.
Oh man, I really need a boyfriend. We're both pushing 30, you know? Time to settle down and leave the job grind behind, don't you think? Savannah, you're dating someone, right?
Even though her tone is casual, she handles her knife and fork with serenity. You can tell she comes from a good upbringing, I think to myself as I twirl pasta onto my fork.
Yeah, I am.
I reply and suddenly remember something.
Oh right, we decided to get married next month.
Upon hearing this, the smooth movement of Sue sitting across from me abruptly stops.
What?
Her surprised shout drowns out the elegant classical music playing in the background.
Hold on, since when did this happen? You never told me.
Well, he just proposed last week, and we haven't really had a chance to talk.
Wait, what's your boyfriend like, Savannah? You never mentioned him before.
Her eyes, framed by her prominent eyelashes, glare at me with a malicious expression. It's Sue who hasn't listened to my stories, but I'm used to her by now. I brush off the tension with a sigh and start talking about my boyfriend. He's a graduate of one of the country's most prestigious universities and currently works for a top-tier company. We've had a steady, peaceful relationship for 2 years since meeting at work. Being with him feels reassuring, and above all, I can be myself, which feels good. However, nearing 30, I'd been feeling uneasy about whether we'll just keep dating or eventually marry. Then he proposed as if reading my thoughts.
So I was thinking of asking you to give a speech at the wedding, Sue. Is that okay?
I share what I've been contemplating ever since the proposal. She gives me a hesitant answer, but eventually agrees. I'm not surprised. Sue has a lot of pride. She probably isn't thrilled about being outdone by her best friend. Lost in thought, I don't notice her face tighten. Finally, the day of the wedding arrives. Before the ceremony starts, Sue pops her head into the dressing room.
Congratulations, Savannah.
The stunning beauty, outshining even the bride, walks into the room with a smile. My husband Hunter is there, so I take the opportunity to introduce them.
Sue, thank you. This is my husband, Hunter. Hunter, this is my best friend, Sue.
Nice to meet you. I'm Hunter. I've heard a lot about you from Savannah. Thank you for being here today.
Hunter smiles warmly at Sue and bows his head.
Nice to meet you, I'm Sue. Look at you, Savannah. When did you snag such a handsome guy?
In her usual manner, Sue smiles back at Hunter. Then, surprisingly, she leaves the dressing room without making any excuses to stay longer. I can't shake the feeling that something's off. Ever since I announced my marriage, Sue's been acting a little distant. As I watch the door Sue just exited through, lost in thought, Hunter mutters, "I wonder what's up with her."
Huh?
I look up to find him making a puzzled face, his hand on his chin, deep in thought. Asking what was on his mind, he mentioned he also felt a little uneasy around Sue.
She looked at my face and for a moment seemed surprised, like she recognized me from somewhere.
He spoke, but seems like he couldn't quite remember where he might know her from. Sue was undeniably beautiful. It's not like you'd easily mistake her for someone else. No clear answers emerged, but the ceremony went on. The spacious venue was filled with round tables, and everyone, old friends and new, beamed with joy. Sitting at the head table, the reality of getting married began to sink in. For so long, I thought I'd never marry. I always considered my life and each day in it as pretty average. Whether being unmarried was normal or not, I had planned to live my life alone. That was until I met Hunter. The ceremony moved smoothly, and now it was time for the best friend speech. I found myself looking at Sue. She stood up, heels clicking as she elegantly walked toward the podium. Truly, Sue looked as beautiful as usual today, or even more beautiful than usual. I wish she would find someone special soon. Although, being the cat she is, she must be picky, I thought. But then she looked at me with a devilish grin.
Savannah, congrats! I debated whether to say this, but I don't want to hide anything from my best friend. Especially not after you're married, and it could cause chaos.
And with that, Sue's face lit up with a cunning smile.
Wait, what?
The room became restless. My once calm heart got suddenly shaken. What is she trying to say? Looking for some kind of clue, I turned to my side. Hunter seemed just as puzzled. In retrospect, maybe I should have stopped her there.
Hunter and I slept together.
With a tone that sounded like she might follow it with a yay, Sue dropped the bomb. Chaos erupted. Hunter slept with Sue. That couldn't happen.
Sue, what are you saying?
Sorry, but you know I can't keep a secret. We slept together. That's it.
No, that's not possible.
Huh?
Sue's beautiful face distorted into a snide smile. But it was far from beautiful.
Because my husband is...
I'm gay.
Our voices overlapped.
What?
Sue's dumbfounded voice was perfectly captured by the mic. The room went into an uproar, making it impossible to know who said what. Sue stood frozen, her face a picture of disbelief. Forget about speeches now. Just then the door bursts open. In comes a man.
Sorry I'm late, bro.
The guy who appears at the door looks just like the groom. A spitting image. Sue glances between the man and Hunter, who's standing next to me. She's speechless.
Hey, long time no see. What brings you here?
He waves casually at Sue.
Hold on, 2 hunters? What's going on?
Finally understanding the situation, I stood up and walked over to Sue. You see, Hank and my husband Hunter are identical twins. Hunter, the older twin, has eyes that emanate kindness, while Hank, the younger one, has a mischievous glint in his eyes. Unless you're really close to them, it's hard to tell them apart. Hank also has a complicated love life. He's a womanizer who uses his brother's reputation to juggle multiple relationships, causing headaches for Hunter. Despite all this, their brotherly bond is strong, thanks in part to Hank's likable personality and Hunter's forgiving nature.
I gently touch Sue's back as she sits on the floor, her shoulders slumped. Sue had just made an outrageous confession at my wedding. Although it turned out to be a misunderstanding that led to her own downfall, she had tried to trample on my happiness. But I didn't know how to feel about her. After all, I'd never seen her so broken before. In the end, I realized I'd always admired Sue for her self-confidence. I just realized that. I apologized for the confusion earlier. That was a prank from her. It was my idea, but I'm not good at this sort of thing, and I'm sorry for creating such an awkward atmosphere.
Hunter quickly steps in, attempting to smooth over the awkward atmosphere.
The room, once filled with murmurs, starts to settle down. You can hear someone saying, "Oh, is this some kind of prank?"
Hunter's concern was genuine, even if his timing was off. He was empathetic towards Sue, who was embarrassed in front of everyone, even if it was her own doing. Look, it's true that I'm gay, but it's also true that I love Savannah. Also true that I love Savannah. Hunter then spoke with confidence and clarity. Yes, Hunter is gay. I found out after we'd known each other for a while and started getting closer. I was surprised and shocked, but he told me he still wanted to be with me. Up until then, Hunter had only ever been attracted to men. But somehow he fell for me, transcending gender. It might not be romantic love, but it's a profound connection, a kind of soulmate relationship that I deeply respect.
As Hunter finishes his speech, the room erupts in warm applause. I glance at my parents. My dad is clapping hard with tears in his eyes, and my mom is dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Dad, Mom, I will be happy with this person. The atmosphere was just right as we transitioned to the entertainment portion of the event. Just as I was about to ask Sue to return to her seat, she shakes off my hand and blurts out, "This is ridiculous. I'm leaving."
Sue gets up shakily and starts walking toward the exit.
I couldn't chase after her. On her way out, she passes Hank, who is sitting during Hunter's speech. Hank tries to stop her.
Hey, you're leaving already? Let's hang out sometime. I'm not looking for a girlfriend right now, but we can be friends.
That was the last straw for Sue. She bursts into tears and rushes out of the room.
Sue?
She never looks back. The ceremony concludes smoothly, and Hunter and I go on our honeymoon. When I return to work after a long break, I find out Sue has transferred departments right after the ceremony. I felt relieved, to be honest. It would have been awkward to face her again. As for Sue, it seems like the betrayal from Hank was the final blow. She went from a life of manipulating men to being disillusioned with them entirely. Time has passed, and she's now over 30 and still single. After my wedding, the buzz about her speech spread through our workplace, cooling the attitudes of those who used to fawn over her. Younger colleagues don't warm up to her either, largely because she's all pride and no substance. Basically, she's isolated herself and become the bossy older woman at work. As for me, I've lost touch with Sue since my wedding, but I'm happily married to Hunter and still working. Sure, we have separate bedrooms, but our hearts are definitely in sync. I can proudly say we're each other's one and only. Marrying Hunter opened my eyes to what true love really is. Every day is so filled with happiness. It makes me wonder what I was so unhappy about when I thought my life was just average.